C-Doc again.
Hey, party people in the place to be. It is Tuesday night, and that means it's time for It's C-Doc again. I got it on my shirt so I wouldn't forget what the name of the show was. I'm C-Doc, your host for the evening. And if you don't know who I am a producer, a filmmaker, a writer, yada yada. I'm also the president of the Spit Slam record label group that is owned by none other than Public Enemy's Chuck D. So that's what we do. I'm also the host of a show called It's C-Doc Again that airs live Tuesday nights on the Channel Zero YouTube page. But you already know that because you're watching. Or you're listening. And we'll get into that in a minute as I introduce my co-host, our social media manager, the man from down under in Louisville, Kentucky, So Chuckify.
What up, y'all? What up?
What's happening, Captain?
Oh, nothing much. Just decorated the non-denominational tree with ornaments.
Oh, excellent.
So knock that out tonight.
Getting into the spirit, huh?
Something like that. 3 of us are. The 13-year-old is being 13.
Oh, gotcha. I jokingly told Rocco that we were going to set up the tree Christmas Eve, and he's like, okay. And now he's like, when's Christmas Eve? We'll set up the tree Christmas Eve. I'm like, okay.
Dude, that's what's up right there.
I know, right? I didn't even mean it like that, but whatever. We'll take it.
Davy's not going to want to put it up before then.
Oh, I know, Dave. Davey already tried to decorate, and we're like, no, you got to clean the house first. And like all of a sudden, there's all this crap everywhere. It's like, dude, you didn't clean anything. Yeah. So, our other co-host got her start in hip hop radio on the West Coast. Our lady from the heyday of K-Day, Jennifer O. Jenny.
What up?
What's happening, sis?
Not a whole heck of a lot.
On the chill out in LA, huh?
Exactly.
There you go. LA style.
Exactly.
Which I, as we were talking about earlier, I was supposed to be in LA today, but that job got canceled, postponed, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. Maybe if it comes back around, it does. If it doesn't, then whatever.
Who knows?
But real quick, I do want to get into something about the show, about our show here. By the way, real quick, because I was just talking to him on text, and he's already in the house. Red Venom in the house. He's going to be he's a Spit Slam artist who will be on a future episode once we get that scheduled. So what
Sweet.
up, bro? What up to everybody in the chat, everybody watching live, everybody watching on the replay, everybody listening. And I say that because audio versions of the show are now available where your favorite podcasts are found.
How exciting is that?
Right?
We're like legit.
It's like a real show now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, like, calm down, people. This is so exciting.
So, Chuckified, I only checked on Apple Podcasts because that's what I listen to. So, but we're like everywhere, pretty much.
Spotify, everywhere.
Amazon, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, something called Deezer. D's Nuts.
Yeah, I've heard of Deezer. I think our music is there too, but I've never used it. So
yeah, it's on all of them. It's like 20 or 30 different ones.
There you go. You can get your It's C-Doc Again fix however you see fit now. But we're still live Tuesday nights.
Yeah, Ultramag's in the house. I got a bone to pick with Ultramag. I tuned into a live stream this week or last week, and he was the featured guest, and I gave him some love, and he just gave me the ghost.
Completely ignored you.
Yeah.
Well, he's driving now. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wisdom Beats in the house.
Wisdom Beats.
Wisdom Beats is going to be part of our year-end special this year coming up in a few weeks.
The year-end special. What are we
I
doing?
can't believe we're
special
here
for
already.
year-end?
It's crazy.
I know. It's crazy. I got another
Really?
birthday at the end of the month. It sucks.
Yep.
All righty then. Wow.
Also,
Yeah.
I did want to mention, because I finally got my copy, the Chill Rob G
Nice.
Empires Crumble vinyl.
Yay.
Out and about, grab them while you can. Evidently, so I guess we did a run with in cohorts with Black Buffalo Records. Shout out to them. And we did a run of black vinyl and colored vinyl, and
Custard. Nice.
yeah, and then the custard is sold out. I didn't even get one. So, so yeah, get it while you can. Chill Rob G Wax, and it's gonna be. We got some to the distributor, our United States distributor. It's at Fat Beats right now, but it's gonna be more places soon, and let's sell it out. You know,
I saw the album on Spotify, but it was listed under the artist Snap. I don't know.
oh really, man? That's not even funny.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You see what you started? You made Ultra Meg feel bad.
Oh no, I just busting his balls. I know how it is when you're being interviewed. Yeah, I've got interviews all the time.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's like being on the C-Doc show. I don't get a word in.
Okay.
Wow.
Man.
Kidding.
Wow. Coming in hot.
It's called witty repartee. I'm keeping it family friendly tonight.
The jokes tonight are just like
Goodermouth.
Right.
Oh, anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into it. I see our guest in the green room. Why make him wait with all our what is it? Witty repartee? Oh, jeez.
Oh, I do need to ask him something when he gets in here. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
There's a lot to ask. There's a lot to talk about. I mean, tonight's guest is a Grammy Award-winning trumpeter. He's a composer, a producer, a podcaster. His debut album, Eclectic Excursions, dropped in 2018. And he's got a new single that just dropped last Friday called Harlem Shake from his new album, End Motion. And that album has a special feature on it, and we'll get into that later. And he also played on a song that I got to produce, and we'll talk about that as well. We'll get it. Well, shit. Wait, I got it right here. I don't know why I'm wasting time. Yes, on the amazing Willie Mays by Mr. Duck. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, Nabate Isle.
What's going on?
How are
you? How y'all doing? I'm great. How's everyone doing? Good?
Doing well.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Pleasure to be on the show. Thank you for inviting me, C-Doc, and it's nice to meet you. So Chuckified and Jenny, appreciate it for having me on.
Nah, it's we're glad to have you, honored to have you. It's actually nice to talk to you face to face because we've been texting, as we collabed on the song. But yeah, it's actually good to see you in person.
Yes, absolutely. It was a great to work with you on that, Willie. I mean, I thank you and Chuck for having me to be a part of it because I mean, Willie Mays is to me the greatest baseball player to ever live. The most versatile player to ever live. The only player to have 500 home run. No, the only player to bat 300, have over 300 home runs, 300 stolen bases, 1,000 runs, and 1,000 RBIs, I believe. The only player in history to do that. Bonds is close, but Bonds only batted, I think Bonds batted 298 in his career. So he fell 2 points short of batting 300 in his career. But 200ths of a point, I mean. But I mean, Willie Mays is someone that, my father would always talk about him. My father grew up near the Polo Grounds when he was in his prime, and my dad was a kid when seeing Willie Mays in the 50s. And then, of course, the them going to San Francisco along with the Dodgers, making the West Coast move and everything kind of broke the hearts of New Yorkers. But then the Metropolitans came along with the combination of Dodger blue and Giants orange, and they got the emblem from the Giants,
Yep.
So it's pretty cool. And Willie Mays getting his number retired by the Mets this year was really a wonderful gesture, because it should have been done years ago.
Oh yeah.
For him to have his number retired in New York,
Mm-hmm.
but it tells you what the Wilpons are all about. You know what I mean? What type of people they are, and I'm glad Steve Cohen is running the team now. So that's another thing we talk about.
And so we'll get in. We got to get into that, because I didn't realize you were so involved in sports.
Yes, sir.
In podcasting and producing and all that. So we have a lot to cover tonight. So
for sure. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But let's go back and start at the beginning. And when did you pick up the trumpet? Why the trumpet, and what was the attraction there? How did that begin?
Yes, no, thank you for asking that. I grew up in New York, born and raised in New York, born in Manhattan, raised in Queens, Left Rack City. I mean, my father hosted a radio show on WBAI 99.5, and this was it was when I think he started the show when I was 7 or 8 years old, and then the show ended around when I was 17. So all throughout my developmental years, and everything, I got to see a lot of great concerts and music. So when I started trumpet at 8, I wasn't really serious about it. I just was a ham and wanted to be on stage. And then like pretty much when John Faddis, the great John Faddis, shout out to him, and I owe him a call, actually. I have to give him a call. But John Faddis, one of the great trumpet players to ever live, one of the highest, he can hit the highest notes. He's along with Cat Anderson and Maynard Ferguson, that type of range. That's like, John Faddis is like once in a lifetime type of trumpet player. And he was on my dad's show, and he ended up doing a workshop in my middle school, which was coincidentally called Louis Armstrong Middle School.
Wow.
It's a shame that not many kids knew who Louis Armstrong was. And
right.
My dad was, my dad did a lot of outreach to the school and bringing in jazz musicians to play concerts for all of us. So when John Faddis came in and played, he invited me up to play on stage. I was 12. And I improvised for the first time, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do after that, like just to have that moment. And I'll never forget that. It was John Faddis on trumpet. And if you look, and anyone, jazz fans out there know these names, Renee Rosnes was on piano, James Genus was on bass, and Billy Drummond on drums. Like that rhythm section is like, I didn't know the magnification of greatness there until I was much older, and I keep in touch with Renee Rosnes still, shout out to Renee Rosnes, and Billy Drummond I haven't seen in a long time. James Genus I haven't seen in a long time, but I make sure to mention that to them every time I see them, that moment. So
man, that's a hell of a start. Jeez.
Yeah, it's really, really deep. Really blessed to have that. Born and raised in New York is nothing like it. The music was all over the place, especially in the early 90s. That was around the late 80s, early 90s. The movie Mo Better Blues was an influence to me. Spike Lee, who has a great history with, of course, Chuck D, with working with Chuck, of course, with Fight the Power, one of my all-time favorite joints ever. And also the people forget about the He Got Game soundtrack that Public Enemy did. So, like Spike Lee growing up on Mo Better Blues, like that movie, and that right when I was 12 years old when that came out, it's really deep how everything comes full circle,
That actually, using Spike as a segue, that's kind of dope, because Spike was the first filmmaker for me. I've told this before, but when I got into hip hop, I was already into film. And but there was like two sides of my brain sort of thing. It was like, I had to compartmentalize those two things. It was like, okay, there's film and then there's hip hop. And and there were music videos, but I didn't equate the two. But then when Spike did Do the Right Thing with Fight the Power, prominently featured on the soundtrack, and then after that, so Mo Better Blues had Gangstar.
That's right, Jazz Thing. Oh
Jazz
my
Thing.
God.
Exactly,
Primo,
right. So
Primo and Guru, rest in peace.
yeah,
you know?
Exactly. So Spike kind of like made the two like, oh, okay, they, this can work like this for me,
Right. And it's funny you say that because, hip hop was just the hip Wild Style and Beat Street,
Right.
Crush Groove, and those movies are like, Tougher Than Leather.
Tougher Than
What I'm
Leather.
saying? Like all those like films is just about hip hop, but Spike Lee really brought it together with also, showing other sides of Black folk
Yes.
outside of hip hop, and showing all the different types of characters of Black folks that, we are just as diverse as anyone else, and Spike showed that and really put that hip hop in there. And it was so funny too, like not with just hip hop, but excuse me, with Jungle Fever.
Yeah.
With that film, it wasn't just about interracial relationship, it was about the heavy crack epidemic.
Yeah.
And Spike hit us hard with that because they were saying, you never did anything about drugs. Oh man, when Spike did it, I never did anything about drugs. Okay,
yeah.
There you go.
You go.
Spike Lee is a major influence
Yes.
on American culture. People don't realize that more and more, like, unfortunately, like, it's always when someone is not around no more, that's when people realize, what I mean? So I just hope people start to realize Spike's impact on American culture, not just Black culture, but American culture.
Yeah.
And we're blessed that he's still on this earth,
Yeah.
and still in great spirits and great health and everything in his late 60s now. So
Yep. And still a creative force, man.
Yes. Oh man, he's had a renaissance. He's had a renaissance. The Five Bloods and Black Klansman, his last two films. And also he did a documentary. He did a documentary recently too.
Yeah.
The one on Katrina when the levees broke.
Yeah. That was way back. But I think
that was a while back. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking recent. Yeah, because Katrina was like mid 2000s. But still excellent film, But he had there were a couple of films that were like, and that happens with a lot of filmmakers as they get older.
But you know what?
They kind of lose the touch a little bit, but then he's come back. You know what I mean? So
I was gonna say Spike is always interesting because he swings for the fences every time.
That's right. So it's like something you have to as an artist, and especially in his 50s and 60s, still swinging. And now, like, he's swinging heavily on topics that still relate now to this day. So definitely.
So that was a very fun tangent there. But anyway, so what I wanted to do was I wanted to ask you then, because you're in New York, you're in one of the epicenters of it. How did hip hop come into your life then?
Oh man, let me tell you, it was PE and BDP. That was it for me. And I'm a Queens cat, and when The Bridge Is Over came out with KRS, like when that came on, like with Red Alert played that. That's what, because I was around 87ish around that time.
Right.
And it was funny. Like I was casually listening to Run DMC and Houdini, casual. You know what I mean? And then of course you heard a lot of great stuff like Planet Rock, Bambaataa. You hear that melody. Then also Herbie Hancock's Rocket.
Yep.
People forget about that, those, and of course those movies, Crush Groove and Wild Styles, things like that. But I wasn't really. It was like I was just looking at it, just say okay, and everything. I didn't have a music that I was really into. I was a lot into 80s pop music because I was on the radio a lot at that time. Sure. And then and of course the Quiet Storm, like in the mid 80s, with the Luther Vandrosses and Freddie Jacksons, and DeBarge and and everything, like those artists. Like I said, but I didn't invest in any of the music. I just heard it, but recognized everything, But then with hip hop, when The Bridge Is Over, I was like, and it was a shot to Queens, Queensbridge is like right there near the East River, and Left Rack is more inner, then there's Jamaica Queens, that's more east, so it's kind of like you have the West Queens covered, Central Queens and East Queens with Jamaica, But when I heard The Bridge Is Over and that was about Queensbridge, I was like, man, KRS just had this. His diction was so clear, crystal. He was a storyteller, and I related to as a kid, like he was like that narrator. You know what I mean? And then hearing Chuck, and hearing PE, and then it takes a nation of millions to hold us back. Criminal Minded and Takes a Nation of Millions to hold us back. That was really it. And it's funny. I went back to Criminal Minded though, actually, because I was more into By Any Means Necessary. You know what I mean? That second album by BDP. And then I went back. Yeah. And then The Bridge Is Over, found out I was on Criminal Minded. You know what I mean? Because I just heard it as a single. And then that was it. So BDP and PE and then Rakim. I didn't really get in, like Paid in Full. I didn't get into. I got into Rakim more with Let the Rhythm Hit Him.
Oh, okay.
Like in '90, and that was so dark, and that resembled like that darkness of New York, especially in Harlem, because my parents, I would still go to Harlem. My parents, because my parents are born and raised in Harlem, and my grandmother lived in the Grand Houses, over there, and I would go to Harlem School of the Arts, so I would be in Harlem at night, driving through Harlem and seeing that, and Let the Rhythm Hit Him really caught me, and then of course. BDK, Big Daddy Kane, and then G-Rap blew my mind, Ill Street Blues, and everything, and Rags to Riches. Like, so then that's how I got into hip hop. And it's the best time because those are the greatest MCs still to ever live. Chuck, KRS, G-Rap, BDK, you know what I mean? Those are Rakim, of course, those five, that was right there, those five cats. And then Master Ace, was underrated at that time too. So that's those six cats like really got me into hip hop. And then Tribe took me to another level. Tribe Called Quest, the jazz influence, that mix of jazz and hip hop, like Low End Theory. That was like, I remember knowing every rhyme on that album, all of Price rhymes, all Q-Tips rhymes, the whole Scenario joint, Busta, like when I heard Busta rhymes on that, oh man, it's just the music ain't like that anymore,
Nope.
So yeah. So I'm going on a tangent, but
no, that's great. Was there Cube too as well? Cube with PE, what they were doing too. Oh my God. So sorry about that. No. I was gonna say trumpet player. Mm-hmm. Was there any kind of like musical snobbery with the hip hop, or was it just? I mean, you were kind of like you were still in the era. You were kind of like in that era of growth and in your personal life that it probably not, huh? Right, no snobbery at all. Yeah. Absolutely not. No, not at all. Like, because it was music I grew up around and being, it was music that was a part of me, and a part of where I come from in New York and Left Rack, and that was no snobbery at all. It was just like, I definitely it was funny. I wanted to develop as a jazz musician, but what I would do too to help me improvise was I would listen to the break beats, and play along with those break beats and try to come up with rhythms and stuff. Like and it really helped me because remember, hip hop is an extension of jazz. I've always said jazz and blues is the root, while the branches are all the other styles of rhythm and blues, hip hop, gospel, which gospel still actually gospel is more in that the branch. I'm sorry, excuse me, the root part. Mm-hmm. But reggae, all that music is like the branches, and hip hop is part of hip hop. Use a lot of those jazz albums, those samples, and it educated me. It educated me on samples, what's that sample? Then I would hear it. Sometimes I would think, oh, they didn't create that. That was a sample. Wow. Even to this day, I'm thinking, oh, that's a sample. Wow. So.
Yeah, here's when we need to pull in Daddy-O, right?
Right.
Daddy-O, yeah. Shout out to Daddy-O. That's my man. I've worked with him at Stetsasonic for a minute. Yes. Shout out to Daddy-O.
Oh, yeah. We don't do any sample snitching on this show. So no, I love to talk about it, but I don't. Come on, go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah. So were you a prodigy? Like you started playing trumpet and you just got it, or how did that all come about?
Not at all. Not at all. I had to work really hard and still do, no, not at all prodigy. Didn't like my ears. I had to develop my ears like throughout the years. I didn't. It was funny. I definitely didn't have perfect pitch at all. Definitely had trouble hearing certain things and stuff like, not physical hearing, but like just like hearing the music and stuff like that. I always had an imagination, and I always, when I improvise, I see colors and stuff like that. I see images when I improvise and stuff, and when I write music, I see images. So I would go from that end of being a very imaginative, but the actual like ear training and things like that, I had to really work hard on. But no, not a project. I kind of wish, I was but also too, prodigies also fade out very quickly too. So it kind of works out that I'm still, like I still developing, even to this day, so.
So where you were going to, like middle school and high school and whatnot, were you involved in like the music programs at your schools?
Very much at Louis Armstrong. They just had a band. They had a jazz band. But I went to LaGuardia Music and Art Performing Arts. That was, that's, Performing Arts and Music and Art High School. They combined to LaGuardia in the mid '80s, and I was at LaGuardia, which is like one of the preeminent the most traditional, the most accolades, LaGuardia in the nation of because how many alumni have gone to there. I can list the alums that have gone there as actors or musicians or vocalists or dancers that went to LaGuardia. So I went there, and there was a heavy jazz program, which is really good to have in high school. I never played in a jazz band, a big band before, until I went there and met Mr. Justin DiCelcio. Shout out to him. Still in touch with him. Great educator, and he created the first jazz program, high school jazz program in the nation in the 70s, at Music and Art. And then he brought it to LaGuardia. And and you have like great musicians. You probably heard these names like Marcus Miller, Eddie Daniels, Eddie Gomez, Jimmy Owens, Larry Willis, Omar Hakeem, like all of those great people. Oh, Bernard Wright, all of them went to Music and Art, then and later on LaGuardia. There some greats that come out of LaGuardia, as well. So I was heavily involved in that, doing all city jazz. So I was basically just playing jazz out, but still was listening to hip hop and R&B. That still was like, still what I grew up on. And, Kiss FM and WBLS, Kiss FM doesn't exist no more, unfortunately. But WBLS is still around. So.
Yep. Well, we got to bring another guest on real quick. I think he's in the car. So, ladies and gentlemen, the hard rhymer, Mr. Chuck D.
Yo,
Please.
what weird times are we in where back in the day they would talk about, well, that's not broadcast quality. Well, now,
right.
Now they got people driving their cars, doing interviews.
Right.
Kanye changed the paradigm when he did Chris Cuomo's show. He was doing it from a car. So, I'm on the way to the studio, by the way, so I might call back. But I just wanted to chip in, listening to a great show. Bache, we were supposed to catch up last month.
I know.
But I got the monster. The monster finally got me from Alabama. So I was down, on COVID protocol for 2 days, but I had to sit it out and not spread it. So, that was that, man. But we're going to catch up again, man. But, man, it's just coincidental when you were saying that you went to LaGuardia, and that was in that aftermath of that same time that, Irene Cara did, Fame, going up and in the schools of New York all got a jump off of doing great music and art, man. And it's great to hear you part of that aftermath, that burgeoning of exploding talent.
Yes, no, it's an honor to be a part of that, be around it, and I'm proud to be a LaGuardia alum. You know, for sure. So, yes,
Rest
sir.
in, rest in
You
peace,
know,
Irene Cara. Wow.
Yes.
yeah, rest in peace. And also, I like to say, I really started out as a Nabate Owls fan because my first meeting with Nabate from afar was when he was a producer of my favorite show on the radio, which is NBA Today with Justin Termini and Eddie Johnson, and Bate was the engineer.
Yeah, the producer,
You know,
yeah, I produced it. I was the lead producer
yeah,
for that. Yep.
you
Mhm.
you're the producer of the show, and that's when my first thing is like, I go back and forth with Bate and Johnson and Germany go at it and stuff, and then one thing led to another. Man, it's just like
Yeah.
Bate worked with Nelson George. We collaborated and just did this Willie Mays joint for Nelson,
Mm-hmm.
and then back then I think. Back then, I was promising Bate that I would get on his album, and
Yes,
and
sir.
that's where it started. Your other
Yes.
album.
Yes, indeed. And
Yeah,
that track really is deep. More and more I hear it. It's so deep, and you mentioned a certain senator, you know what I mean, that got ignored today. Like you saw that clip, you know what I mean? Like by the
Oh,
the family members and the the whole unfortunate incident that happened January 6th, 2021, and
right.
definitely, yeah, like it just shows what he represents and what it's all about. So when you mentioned it on the track, I was like, yeah, it's relevant. It's gonna continue to be relevant for years and years, and everything. So
Well, that's the thing. That's the timeline of music. Unfortunate and also fortunately, that we're
yes.
able to have that different language cut through. But I'm gonna
Hmm.
probably pick back up in a few minutes. I'm gonna go to the studio, but keep
Okay.
on. I'm watching it from the outside in. I just wanted to call in and give my salutes and just say what a wonderful interview this is, and from an amazing, fantastic human being and musician.
Oh, appreciate you. Thank you for saying that's an honor. And I can't believe like I was telling C Dot and Jenny and so chuckified. I was telling them that, like I said, PE and BDP, that's what got me into hip hop. That was it right there, and what the messages that you, Flavor, Professor, Terminator X, Professor Griff, Scott LaRock, God rest his soul, of course, Chris Parker, like D Nice, all of the messages and everything about musicality, about believing in the community, having our people believe in each other, and really preach that unity and everything. That's what it was all about, and also preaching what's going on and being awake, being woke. So I appreciate you, Chuck, for what you've done for not just me, but for all of us, for the culture and for our society.
Yo, man, salute. I'll catch y'all back in a few minutes. Maybe I'll catch the tail end.
All right.
Salute.
Absolutely. All right
Sound
now.
good, bro.
Again, all right. Yes, indeed. Wow, that's a pleasant surprise. Yes, indeed. What Chuck did on that track on my album, oh man, like just deep, so deep, so deep.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it.
Yes,
So,
yes. I can play it on the show
oh,
if you
hey.
want. I can play it on the show if I can share it. Like if I can be able to share it, I can play the audio. Absolutely,
Okay.
Or I can send it. Or I can send it to you. I can send you the audio. I can email it to you. Well, I think you got it already, though, right? I may email it to you. I think.
No, I
Maybe.
well, no, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
I think I would have remembered that.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm gonna email it to you right now.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I can cue it up. We can close out the show with it. So that'd be great.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Now Chuck brought up a couple of things I wanted to get to later, but that's all right. Yeah, Todd, let's talk about how did you get into into the radio and producing? Was that an extension of stuff from your father?
Wow. Yeah. It's so funny how things come back full circle. I never imagined myself to do radio or TV, like communicate. It's so funny. I made communication. I was accepted at NYU for communications,
Okay.
undergrad. Because I said, if I'm gonna stay in New York, I'm not gonna major in music. Why do that? Like where music is around me all the time, I
Right.
can just major in something else. But I felt it was important for me to be away from the city because I was getting real distracted the last 2 years, hanging out a lot and still practice, but I felt like I needed to be in the area where I can really hone my craft because I felt like I could be I should be better in what I am, like, you know what I mean? And I'm just very tough on myself and hard on myself. So I ended up going to Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York, which is a very one of the great conservatories in the nation. And I was able to major in jazz and everything. I was part of the first jazz undergrad class, but it was very interesting. I was like one of two blacks in the jazz program. Very interesting.
Wow.
So it was a culture shock right there because there were maybe no more than 10 African Americans in the school, like out of how many students were there? There were like maybe 500 undergrads and like around 250 grads. So around 750 to 800 students. There were only like 10
Wow.
black folks,
In Rochester?
At at Eastman School of Music, School of
Wow.
Music. Yeah, it's really deep. But Rochester is a black town,
Right.
it's really
That's why.
diverse.
Right.
Yeah, but Eastman is so private though. Private school, very like, like they have a lot of people from all over the world, a lot of Asian people, a lot of people of privilege, upper middle
Right.
class or wealthy. So it was a culture shock, but I was prepared because my parents always trained me to like, be able to talk to anybody. And growing up in Queens is like a melting pot. I got to be around so many different types of people, all different races and cultures. And Queens is that space, East Elmhurst, Corona, that surrounds Left Rack, Forest Hills. You have so many different types of races and cultures and backgrounds. So I was, and then also my parents exposed me to talking to a lot of great older individuals like jazz musicians that my dad used to interview, and the people that were around, like the producers of these jazz concerts, I would have conversations with. So I really was able to come in and fit right in, and still have my own identity, and also like had to check people a few times because this was the 90s. This is the late 90s when I was at Eastman, and it was different because we don't have like the awareness. I mean, still there's work need to be done, but we don't have the awareness like now, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement and everything, and what happened with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, etc. We didn't have the awareness like we do now, back then. So I had to check some people, and some people thought I was like, a couple people thought I was paranoid, you know what I mean, and thinking that I'm sensitive and stuff, and saying that, and no, I stuck to my guns, with that, and but it was really a deep situation. But I enjoyed Eastman. I'm still good friends with a few people from there. 3 of the people that I went to Eastman with are on my album.
Wow.
Two of the 3 people on the album for recording on my record for the second time because it's my second album. So yeah, and it was good and also the alumni network is incredible. They've had me come back to give workshops and concerts, and they've really promoted me heavily over the past 5 years when the first album came out. So I got nothing but love for Eastman, but they got to get that diversification together because it's still the same thing. Like 25 years later, still the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say Rochester. That's where my mother's from.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it being terribly diverse.
You talk about the city itself, right? The city itself. Yeah. Oh, it does. It does. Like in the downtown area, the city, there's a lot of mix. A lot of Black Latinos in the downtown area. But outside of it, the suburbs, Right. Outside of it, it's not as diverse, but it's definitely more diverse than what Eastman was
Than
back
at the school
then.
itself, yeah.
For sure.
Did you ever go to Chaparino's Pizza in
No,
Rochester?
I have not. I went to Stromboli Express a lot. Stromboli Express right there. And also there were 3 restaurants I went to. Stromboli Express, which is right down the street from Eastman. There was also the distillery, which is my favorite place for wings. They had like half price wings and everything, half price appetizers, I remember. So I used to go there and gain a lot of weight. And also Mark Texas Hots, which was great. You know y'all know the Texas Hots up in upstate New York with the hot dogs and everything. So I gained so much weight up at Eastman, and I lost it. I lost it all when I got back to New York, because in New York you have to, I was like, I gotta look lean and slick, and everything, and lean and slick, So yeah, so definitely.
Well, you missed out on Chaparino's Pizza. Well.
I did. Oh my God, I'm gonna look for it next time I'm up there.
It's probably doesn't exist anymore.
Probably, and I never assume no, because you never know,
Yeah.
But I because I was there this past June for the Jazz Festival. I performed there at the Jazz Fest, so it was really good to be back. Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but Stromboli Express sounds fucking good. So,
dude, I was just sitting here as soon as he said that. I was like,
yeah, it was
damn.
killing. It was killing, and we would all go there and eat there and stuff, and those were good times. It was good times to be away from New York, and it was good times for me to really grow as a musician and take advantage of the resources of Eastman. I mean, and I got to really build up on my classical playing, my classical music and symphonic stuff, and because it was mostly a classical school, so
right.
That was good. That was good to do.
That's one of the things I was going to ask, about the whole school thing, right? Many times you are in the school programs and they're not playing the music that you want to play. Did that ever drag you down, or when you got out of school, you played the stuff you wanted, or did you feel like the music that they selected for you all to play was dope enough and you could get into it?
Oh, you mean the Eastman, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. No, absolutely. It was dope enough because it was the tradition. We played Duke Ellington, Thad Jones. We played a lot of Bob Brookmeyer and Frank Foster. So it was the whole traditional big band type of music, and we also got to write music too. So I got to write big band charts and take advantage of all of the students that played so well, and got to get people together to play my charts, and everything. So that was the great thing. But no, absolutely, I was all for the repertoire and everything that we did, because it helped me expand as a musician, and also playing the traditional stuff, and also some Maria Schneider as well. Maria Schneider is one of the preeminent composers and arrangers, and she's a graduate of Eastman, the master's program there. So we played a lot of different stuff. I think the only thing was that I felt like we could have played more of obscure Black composers, more like Ernie Wilkins, and more Frank Foster, and also also too like some Fletcher Henderson, Quincy Jones. Even though he's not obscure, but we didn't play enough. So just more and also even Don Ellis too. Don Ellis he was a white trumpet player, but his music was very, very rhythmic, and we didn't play much. So it was kind of like we played a lot of floaty type of arrangements, but nothing that was that swing, you know what I mean? So at the same time, but it was still great. It was still great repertoire overall. So
cool.
Yeah.
I grew up on big band jazz. That was part of the records my parents had. My grandfather played trombone for Tommy Dorsey.
Wow. Wow. That's tradition right there. Wow.
Yeah.
That's tradition. Wow, that's crazy. So
way back.
Yeah.
So the music was always around, you know. I mean, I was raised on a lot of stuff, eclectic stuff, but yeah, that was always around. So
no, that's real talk. Wow, and and definitely. Oh, and I got to send you that email, so I'm working on that right now. Make sure I get that track to you. Absolutely.
Okay. So you've played, collaborated with, toured with like an astonishing list of artists.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, I was looking on the website, and you know, the names jumping out at me. The ones that jumped out at me: Mos Def, you know, Philip Bailey, Jill Scott,
yes,
Jeffrey Osborne,
yes.
Robert Glasper. I love Robert Glasper. He's great.
Yeah, man. He's changing the game. You know, he's changing the game, Glasper. You know, like and he's someone I've known for. When did I meet Robert? 1997 around. You know, like definitely that was right, you know, like he was already like such a talent out of Houston, Texas. And then he started getting into the hip hop scene with Common and everything, and then the rest was history. And Bilal, you know, like a lot of the work of Bilal, then the rest is history. Like I'm, you know, I want to get to where he's at. You know, like, you know, from the standpoint of being able to work with so many unique artists and everything. And I like that, you know, my stuff is different from his as well, you know. So so it's really cool. I have so much respect for that cat, and he's a good brother, you know, good brother for sure.
Yeah, super cool. I got to meet him in Atlanta at a thing P was playing at, and just talked to him briefly, and just such a great dude and down to earth. And then got to see him play because it was a festival, and so he was definitely somebody I was looking forward to seeing, and did not disappoint. So. Yes,
no, he didn't. Who and was it with his experiment group? Was it with?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Casey Benjamin, who's a LaGuardia graduate. We went to LaGuardia together. He's a year behind me. And was Casey doing vocoder and saxophone?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, yep. And then Derek Hodge, right? Derek Hodge was on bass, I believe.
I believe so,
right?
yes.
And Chris Dave, right, on drums, or Mark Collenberg, one of those two drummers.
It might have been Mark. Yeah, it might have been Mark.
Yeah.
It was a while ago.
right. And Mark is a good brother. That's one of the coolest cats. You know, I love Mark. You know.
But a name that jumped out on the list real quick that I have to ask about, because I actually got to meet and shoot some documentary footage of, was Grady Tate.
Yes. Oh, man. I did a recording session with Grady Tate. The honor to do it with Grady Tate, Buster Williams, Jay Hogarth, and Erie Kane. And it was like I played a couple of tracks. It was a record produced by Rob Crocker, who's a great DJ on WBGO, which is a local jazz station in the New York area. They're based out of Newark, but they're all through the tri-state area. So Grady Tate and Grady Tate, I did a show on Grady Tate, so he knew me when I was young, and everything. And then I got to play with him, and Grady was a great singer too. Oh my God, tremendous singer, and you know how he hangs, like too. That cat can party, so you know. Definitely.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I don't know if anything ever. Sorry, Jen. I don't know if anything ever happened with the documentary, but we shot some footage for it and stuff. It was very cool. But go ahead, Jen.
How is it that you decide who you're going to collaborate with? What do you look for?
Oh, like on my albums. Great question. What I look for musicianship, like I look for musicians that can play any style of music that are so versatile. That's what I look for. And I look for musicians that have like a jazz and improvisation background too, because my first two albums, but especially my last, the one that's coming out January 27th, In Motion, on Rope-A-Dope Records, and you can pre-order it on Bandcamp, my Bandcamp, which is NSI Universal. You can pre-sales are going on. Harlem Shake single as well. But anyway, so I had to get that plug out.
No, good. Glad you
That
did
was
it.
a good one.
But
Yep,
yes,
there you go.
yes,
Well
so-
done.
But yeah, Jenny, I look for that. I look for versatility, and also people that have a sense of because I want to come out with it. This is a soundtrack of my life, kind of like the music I grew up with. You know, like Harlem Shake resembles New Jack Swing. You know, Bate's letter from Mr. Chuck that features Chuck D. It represents like that real, real driving dark PE, like let the rhythm hit him vibe, like what I was talking about, that dark sound that pushes and also has a message. Also dance, I was like dance music and house music. I was, especially when I was old enough to go to the clubs, like the Palladium and APT and the Tunnel, and like I was able to go to those places that, that where there was hip hop and dance music and house and those outdoor parties and stuff. Like I wanted to resemble that on my album. And that's, I wanted to get people like Eric Harlan and Sam Barsh, who's the producer, who's a great songwriter and great pianist, and Eric Harlan, one of the great drummers in the world. Kaveh Rastegar, one of the great bassists. Rachel Ekroff, a great. She was nominated for a Grammy actually for her album The Garden last year. Great pianists who I've known for years. So I look for people that I've known for a long time as well, that I have a good relationship with. And all the folks I mentioned, I've known for at least 15 years. And David Gilmour on guitar, those are the main cats on the album. So I make sure, Jenny, I look for people I have a good relationship with and people that have versatility in their playing.
Speaking of Grammys, you were part of the Christian McBride big band.
Yep.
And you played on not one, not two, but 3 Grammy-winning albums.
That's right. 3-peat,
Wow. Damn,
yes.
Man.
All 3 big band records, 1 Grammys. All 3. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And Christian, shout out to Christian McBride, like honor to work with him. One of the greatest musicians I've ever heard in my life. Every time I hear him, he never ceases to amaze me, and amaze all of us in the band. And to be around those great musicians in the band, it's like an all-star band. I'm like, wow, honored to play with those cats and so much experience. And it's like a family too, as well. It's like a family atmosphere. So Christian, we're recording the 4th album now. I don't know if I'm supposed to give it away what it's about. I don't know if I give that away publicly, but it's going to be a very interesting record, and I think it's going to get a lot of exposure, to say the least.
Dope.
You're going to hear a lot about it within the next year. So we recorded that in October, and I think we'll record it early next year. We'll finish it up. So
okay, we will definitely keep an eye out.
Yes,
Mr. Chuck had a question. We'll throw up here.
Okay.
Yes. Shouldn't hip-hop producers, beat makers create more instrumental albums and mesh with musicians instead of always having vocalists? What is your opinion on that?
I absolutely agree. And people are doing that. For sure. But I think a lot of beat makers, like what really upsets me about beat makers is the lack of like theory knowledge, lack of training, music training, and they don't do okay. It's you can have success and do what you do and have that success. That's fine. But that's why a lot of beat makers and producers don't really elevate and grow as time goes on, because they're stuck in that one lane, and then they're not able to have that versatility to be able to expand.
Right.
That's why I respect the Neptunes. The Neptunes are they're real musicians. Chad Hugo's he was a prodigy. Saxophonist. And of course Pharrell, drummer. So that's why I respect the Neptunes so much, so musical. Scott Storch is so musical, and everything. J.R. Rodham, real great pianist. I'm trying to think of other great producers that play instruments, but I mean those are the cast that I'm thinking about. And Glasper is a producer.
Glasper, yeah,
and
of course.
But, you know, and he's an elite musician, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, I think beat makers need to work more with instrumentalists and everything. And it does happen because we've seen more live bands. The Roots have had a major influence on that. And
Yes.
I think when Jay-Z came out with the Roots band and Unplugged that Jay-Z did, yeah, I think it started to set a tone for like having live instruments up there, you know. And now a lot of great hip hop artists like Jizza has a live band, the Jizza and Talib Kweli has a live band, Master Ace has a live band, Rakim is rocking with live musicians, and now Rakim works with Robbie Coltrane. Now, you know, they have a thing going on, you know, and Robbie, for those of you in the audience that don't know, Robbie Coltrane is the son of John Coltrane,
right?
The great saxophonist. Unfortunately, Robbie was 2 years old when his father passed, unfortunately, but he's still the son, you know, and the lineage continues the lineage of his father. So we're having more of that, but I think, instruments are so important. And also too, producers get instruments to get the real thing, you know, the real sound, you know, especially bass lines and keys, and everything. And that's what Sam Barsh does. Shout out to Sam Barsh. That's what he does. Plays a lot of keys and creates a lot of that stuff with DJ Khalil, and he also did the keys for the Kanye Hurricane joint, and everything, which was live stuff that he added to it. So
I also want to shout out DJ Harrison from Virginia, and his group Butcher Brown, super dope.
Oh yeah, Corey Fonville on drums, that cat,
super dope.
Yeah, yes indeed. Wow, shout out. Yeah, Butcher Brown. I've not seen them live. I got to make sure to see them live for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to too. I first encountered Harrison's work because one of the other labels that I work with, Block Sonic, he had done an instrumental piece on that, and he says it over and over on the record. It's an instrumental record, but he says there are no samples on this record, and it sounds like the entire record is full of samples, but I know it's him playing stuff and making it sound like samples. It's crazy good.
That's the beautiful thing. That's the beauty. Stay away from samples. Stay away, because, you know, like that's you know, and that's the thing. A lot of musicians can stay away from that. They can, because they could, you know, create like that. But then you have a lot of beat makers that's what they rely on. So
yes, I'm one of those beat makers, but
no,
but you know, see, yeah, but Doc's beats are melodic. That's what I appreciate about you. Like, you know, not every single beat, but you definitely have a feel, a whole different feel. And I think that's why you've been so, you know, I don't want to kiss your ass too much on your show, but I think that's why you've been, you know, killing it, because your beats just sound different. I don't know what it is. It has some melodic overtones to it for sure.
And you come up with melodies. I can hear it, you know, in your production. So yeah.
So,
can we bring up rest in peace Don Newkirk?
Yes.
What he did for Stetsasonic.
Yeah,
man.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and then I love when you know, I always think I heard of Don Newkirk when third base was like label mate Don Newkirk, you know, like that. I was like, oh, okay, and then it took me back to Stetsasonic, knowing what he did. Yeah, tremendous bassist, you know.
Yeah, definitely. He played everything on
Talking All That Jazz.
Yep.
Yep. That's right. Man. And 56, that's it. You know, it's like
man, right?
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. You never know.
Those are the unsung heroes.
The unsung heroes for real. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Like Larry Smith, another genius instrumentalist. Larry Smith.
Rest in peace, Larry Smith. Yep.
You know, like those are the unsung cats, you know. So
okay, so Mr. Chuck came back. He's in the studio. I think he was with JP.
Okay.
JP in the house.
Okay. What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
It's JP. I think JP is back there, right? I got to put it on the side. You know, like we have have technical difficulties. We just have I'm holding a phone. But anyway, don't let me interrupt. I just wanted to like call back in this like my question. Yeah, thanks for answering my question because I always believe that the beat makers and a lot of the quote unquote hip hop producers, I don't throw that term around too easily. You know, if they did like 7 or 8 songs, just like, you know, like jazz musicians would do whole albums. I could listen to somebody do a whole beat album with, they switch it up for about, you know, half an hour. I mean, I got a half an hour of that in me. But I do agree that, you know, you need a musical theory just to get you from, you know, minute 1 to minute 4. But, you know, I you know, we have a lot to learn from what's already been done. And you would think just that so many people collect records, especially the DJs and the beat makers collect the records, but just don't collect it looking for the beat. There's so much in it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And you know, it comes to mind the Peace Instrumentals. Peace Instrumentals, how Pete Rock just like crafted the arrangements, you know, 2001, I was blown away by that. Like, wow, you know, definitely, you know, for sure what he was doing. So and you know, remember the Hidden Beach? Remember Hidden Beach, those instrumentals? It was Unwrapped,
Right.
all of those. They did a lot of the hip hop songs, all this great hip hop R&B songs, but with instrumentals of live musicians, you know. So that was really dope.
Well, we used to say sometimes a vocalist would get in the way, and we call it track stabbers. We're still trying to make that song called Track Stabbers because the music is breathing so good, and the beat is so fly. But if you get the wrong vocalist or the vocalist doing the wrong things on it, they just killed it.
Yeah, right, and not killed it in a good way. Not killed it, you know.
Right.
You know,
like leave well enough alone, and that's why I feel without trying to go into this elite thinking type of thing, but there's so much body of great musicianship, musical work that I think sometimes a lazy vocal on top of it sometimes just kills both. It kills the vocalist to never be heard again, and it kills the music underneath it to never be heard again. And so I look at this as high art. I don't look at hip hop as low art. I mean, and I think when you can actually zone into something and lock in, and it occupies your time, and you come out of there like better than how you came in, I think it's the epitome of music, art, and craft, and especially live. You know, if somebody's gonna take your time, you know, when you sit and watching it, you gotta be awestruck. So,
facts. Indeed,
definitely.
Yes, yeah. But Chet, what you working on? What you working on in the lab?
Well, this is actually, you know, coincidentally, I'm actually working. This is actually I'm versing something over to the official New York Knicks MC named Jay Boogie, and they call him the Closer, and he's on Knick Fan TV. And I told him, I said, listen, and you would notice something like this, Bate, you were interwoven, and you're so interwoven into the NBA that you would probably get a lot of beds to play, and big ups for playing a lot of, you know, music that we had. Bate would be slipping in all kinds of music, you know, in the beds coming back into the broadcast.
Yep.
But also you also hear that there's such a void open with like what the NBA thinks is great music, always trying to steer towards just a youth a youth audience now, that there's so much great music across the board that also is in the rhythm of basketball.
That's right. Absolutely. And it's interwoven. It's interwoven for sure. Like definitely like basketball players and like Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is a true hip hop head. You know, like he really knows the stuff. People don't know Dave East. He like helped Dave East early in his career because they played ball together in the DMV.
Wow.
You know, him and Dave East are like brothers. And Katie, I remember like the finals, 2018 finals, he was listening to something, and I always talk music whenever KD's such a good dude, you know, always would mention, because he made beats himself and stuff. And he had the better verse than Braun when they did that rap song together in like 2012. KD had the better verse, you know what I mean? For sure. KD got him. But what happened was, KD, he was listening, and I said, I said, what you listening to? He said, oh, Kweli. I was like, oh, okay, which album? He said, oh, no, it's a mix I made for myself. And I'm like, you see? He put the time into putting that together and curating that Kweli mix. That was like, that's a real music cat, you know, definitely.
Wow.
So
I asked my question from afar, and trust me, everybody, I wasn't texting and driving. I was at a stop. I'm talking this craziness because I did have a car smack up like a couple of weeks ago, but I wasn't doing that either, man. Trust me.
Oh man, and let me tell you, I gotta tell you, I have a bad habit. If I'm listening to radio and I want to Shazam something while I'm in the car, I'm like, nah, don't do it. Don't do it.
I know.
Don't do it. And the phone's right there because I have it up, you know, when I'm looking, because I don't want to look down. I have it right up, and I'm like, look, no, I ain't gonna do it. No.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like we, you know, on NBA Today, a lot of times I would have to pull the car over the side of the road and then text into y'all. Yeah. And I still kind of do it. I pull the car over the side of the road, man, because you know how they are. They ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so I had to pull the car over the side of the road just to laugh. You know what I'm saying? But also, like when I'm following some shows, I'm listening to it. But then you feel that you got to comment if they got a comment area. So, I mean, but tonight, my question was kind of like clear because we're in the industry, but also we're in the area of art and craft and music where you know, looking up to you guys. I mean, I don't know, you know. I get it. You know, hip hop is sort of like in between blues and jazz. So jazz looked at itself as a higher, you know, I mean, people carry themselves, you know, they say, listen, I got to be serious about this because I'm not going to get chopped up by, you know, if I'm going to play with people, I ain't going to be the worst one coming up in here. So I got to work on my craft. I got to work on my chops. Boom, boom, boom. But at the same time, we could wild out, but we're not going to wild out when it comes down to this music thing. And then we got on the other end, we got the blues where it comes out of just like, you know, where it came out of is like, you know, straight up and down in the back of the pool room, you'll get cut, you know, that type of. So that was prevalent. Not to say you wouldn't get cut in jazz, right? You know, but I'm just like saying, hip hop somewhere in the middle. It could go either way. It's like, you know, boom, boom, or bam, bam. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I just think that there is so much wealth to watch musicianship, and jazz. Like, you know, when you talk to a cat and it's like, well, you know, I do jazz. So, I mean, I done 66 albums. I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? You know, there's cats out there with, you know, when Doc asks you the question, you got 3 Grammys in a row, like boom, boom, boom. And to have this not being in the public space of brilliance and genius, that's something we all could work on, you know, and make the platforms. And C-Doc will tell you, and Chuck and Jenny will tell you that we find a lot of joy trying to create the platforms for you guys in the Lamborghinis to roll.
Yep.
Because the ignorance, and not to say ignorance is a bad thing, they've been taught to choose to ignore the real genius and the brilliance and accept something that's just, you know, okay, but that ain't amazing. You just told that it's amazing, but it really ain't.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So many brilliant artists out there, you know, that, like you said, just more of exposure that's so important of American artists, you know. And what's really upsetting, like, and Chuck, it kind of reminded me, I wanted to say this earlier, that, you know, the Grammy band, they had a Grammy All-Star Grammy Jazz Band, the top high school jazz musicians in the country. They stopped that like a few years ago. They stopped that. I'm like, why is that? Like, these are kids that are at the top, that are at their musicianship is ridiculous, at such a young age, 15, 16, 17 years old. But they don't want to expose these kids, but they'll expose these young artists that don't even know, like, can't even read music, you know what I mean? Or can't, you know what I mean? That shows you about the music industry, what it is and what they want to expose, So yeah.
Does your craft and what gives you that to go on? Because I know it must be frustrating at times. You're working with incredible, brilliant people. You're incredible, and you walk into the world or the public space in the United States of America, and people are like, okay, I don't get it. That has to be frustrating, because music people know, and people that appreciate music know, those that are here, they's like, wow, I want to know. I want to be able to go to something, be a part of it. It's a training.
Yes. Jose.
They heard me talk about the blues.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. But I just like the thrill of creating keeps me going. The thrill of creating, and also too, like, building a catalog. That's what's so important to me, because I have a baby girl, 9-month-old daughter. And it's my first child. And I want to be able to set a legacy for her to be proud of her old man. And see what I've done. And everything, and this is my second album, but I felt like I was a sideman for like many other albums, and stuff like that, and I just never, I don't think I saw myself as a leader, as a musical leader, but I just didn't feel like I was ready for it from the standpoint of being able to be. I was just tough on myself, like, compositionally, you know what I mean? And just tough on myself. I felt like but then I end up using some tunes that I've written in the past. I end up using beats that I've made in the past, to incorporate into my music. So it shows that, wow, even though I'm not happy with something 5 to 6 years ago, right? It's something that now it's meant to come out. It's now in my ear,
Yeah.
So whenever you're happy, for creative artists, I say, if you're not happy with something right now, as long as you created it, but always go back to it, because it could be ahead of what your ear is at right then and there. But then when you catch up to it, it's weird, It's like Van Gogh said, but Van Gogh knew it. Van Gogh said, like, I created for the next generation, and like, I'm butchering what he said, but he basically knew he was creating for the future, and everything. So as an artist, you just have to just create and keep it going, and that's what it is, Chuck. Like, creation, that's what keeps me going. Creating and being able to find ways to make all types of sonic differences and things like that. So even with production or to it playing.
From the outside looking in, I mean, and I've been watching them for a while, it looks like Rope-A-Dope gets it, and they get it, like, understand, okay, we're in the digital space, but we're also in the delivery space. And for the longest period of time with the music business, I think C-Doc could attest to this, because we've been watching this trajectory, the arc of it, where everybody used to thought that automatically you put some music out there and you're going to get downloads and you're going to get money. But now everybody has now just, gone into the jazz space, where your performance is your business card. I mean, your records are your business card to your performance.
That's
so
right.
Instead of the other way around, I'm a recording artist. Now I got to go out there and, no. It's like, you know what? That's your business card. So it seems that Rope-A-Dope has steered into an area, said, listen, we're going to take great musicians and be able to have them present their business cards and expand on that profile.
Yes, they do that well, and they really and they support us from the standpoint of, like, making sure we get monetized, like Bandcamp, really pushing Bandcamp, for what we do, because at Bandcamp we get the money we deserve. For like we get like a 70 75, the artist gets 75% of the sales. So Bandcamp, instead of with streaming, because with streaming, that's why I don't really promote the streaming stuff. I say, okay, it's on Apple, whatever. But I give the Bandcamp link. You know what I mean? You can pay $11 for the digital album. You know what I mean? Like, so, and then I'll get around 8 back or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's
right.
kind of like, yeah, you know, that is so key for sure. But Robodope definitely has it, and they got it. And they've had so many great artists through the years, and now, you know, they have great artists like Christian Scott, you know, who goes by Chief Atua, I think. You know, he goes by all these things, you know, and so Christian Scott. But they have him, and Terrace Martin was on it. I think his last album was on something else. But also Snarky Puppy won a Grammy with Robodope. David Sanchez, the saxophonist, was nominated for. So Robodope, yeah, they have such a plethora of artists. I'm so happy to be a part of that. So definitely.
That's great.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, very dope.
So,
Dre Mays has a question, and he wants to know: is it possible for people of an older age, I'll bring it up, 40, 50-ish, to still be a great musician if they are first starting out, even if they tinkered with it when they were younger? What's your thoughts on that?
they got to put all their time into it. You know, like I would recommend that if you have a job and you want to be a musician, that should be your job, especially at 40 and 50 years old. Because the reason why is because there's so many. Because I remember, I'll never forget. Who told me? Okay, Johnny Coles, the great Johnny Coles, trumpet player. He told Dwayne Eubanks, who's a friend of mine, trumpet player, and Dwayne told me. But I'm trying to think who else told me this as well. But I'm gonna say this. You know, as you get older, practice when you're younger, because when you get older, it's going to be tougher because you have so many more obligations, you have a family, and also too, the way you learn, it's tough to make an alteration with the way you learn, you know? So I'm gonna say, like, it is not impossible for you to still be a musician if you're in 40s, 50s. And if you take with it, that's good. That means you have a basis. But I would recommend that you put like hours into it, and also know yourself and know how you learn too, because we're set in our ways. But you know, at that age, we're set in our ways. So, you know how you learn and apply on how you learn, apply it into what you do musically. But yeah, if you want to be a professional musician at 40 or 50. I would recommend spending like a good 2-3 years practicing like 6 hours a day to get to that point, you know.
Good
luck with that.
You know? yeah, it's real, it's possible. And listening, transcribing what you want to sound like, you know, transcribing your favorite musicians, copying them, getting a vocabulary in your fingers, you know, whatever instrument you play. And also going to jam sessions and being around other musicians so you get better. Like Chuck said earlier, you know, you don't want to be the worst cat on the stage, you know, you don't. So that helps you learn, be like, okay, that's a barometer of where I got to go. And you play with musicians as well. You got to play with other musicians too to be a professional musician, not just practice at home and build a skill set. You got to play with other people. You got to learn how to listen, learn how to be, know how to be in synergy with others and everything like that, and it helps you learn tunes as well by playing with other musicians, and you use your ear to be able to go with them, go with the flow with them, and be able to adapt and improvise with what the band is doing. So
it used to be like that in hip hop and rap music. You had to listen more than run your mouth or run the turntable. Everybody had to listen to each other and had to be in sync. Although it wasn't different instruments, but the voice was an instrument, voices were instruments, and the DJ and the turntable, they could switch a record and a tempo at a flip of a switch. So you had to anticipate the count. You had to be ready for that. You had to rehearse. So in hip hop and rap music, when they individualized it and made solo recording artists, they took everything away from playing with someone, being next to somebody. And now, and that took it to another space where, no, everybody's not going to be a Jay-Z or a Busta Rhymes or Queen Latifah. You know, you out there, so you got to figure out how to play with people and to compete with people at the same harmony. I'd like to salute you for a second time. I'm in the wind, back in
Oh,
the session. I'll be
man.
catching from the outside looking in. God bless.
Yes, sir.
Peace and love to you, Nabate Isles, and also I'm looking forward to that
Thank you.
album release. I look to drop in and be a part of it along the line in a
Yes,
busy
sir.
2023. Doc, Jenny,
Yes.
and Chuckified. I'm in the breeze, knocking out this thing for Jay Boogie.
All right.
All right
Thanks,
now.
sir.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you,
Salute.
Maestro. Yes,
Salute.
sir. Oh man, legend right there. Legend. It was so funny and what Chuck was saying. I know he had to go, but what Chuck was saying was so funny, like about listening, right? Remember that? Did y'all see that video of Biggie getting pissed at the DJ?
Oh yeah.
And he
Yep.
throws the water bottle at him. So
Yep.
I said, "What are you messing up?" I said, you know, like, and Lil C's was dying, cracking up. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know that's what Chuck was talking about. It's about listening. The DJ has to listen. You know, and
Yep.
and whatever you do, like if you mess up the tempo or mess up the flow of the tempo of the pulse. You know, it's heard in hip hop, especially when you're mixing a record and it's all sloppy. You know, C-Dot, you know what it is. You a DJ, you know, it's like that can't happen. You know, like so. Yeah,
nope,
so.
not at all. So, before we wrap this up, I got a couple of things we want to get to. How did the song "Superhero" come about?
Wow, yes, Chadwick Boseman, God rest his soul.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that brother. Wow, Chadwick Boseman. We have a history. Chadwick Boseman's from Anson, South Carolina, and also he was only 9 months older than me because he was born November 76. I was born August 77.
Okay.
So so we like my cousin. My older cousin, who's my mother's age, I used to go down to Anderson like during the summers when I was in elementary school and middle school. I would go down there every summer to kind of like have a change of environment, and it taught me discipline too because I would act up and think I had an ego being from New York and everything like that, and I got humbled by my cousin like and everything and stuff. But it was but she. Was someone that Chadwick Boseman looked up to when he was a child. She was good friends with Chadwick's parents. So
wow.
Chadwick always knew her, and really had so much respect for her and everything like that. So every time he would go back to Anderson, he would make it a point to see her name. Her name's Barbara Mack. Shout out to Barbara Mack. And yeah, and so what happened was with Chadwick, I met him one time in my life, and I'm blessed that I did because I always said when I meet him, I'm gonna mention Barbara Mack. So this was a show at the Blue Note, October 2018, Robert Glasper show. Robert Glasper always gets all the celebs coming to see him, or people joining him on stage, anybody and everybody, So when I saw Chadwick walk up, and I didn't play the gig with Robert, I was just hanging out, checking out the show. And when I was upstairs backstage, Chadwick Boseman was walking, and I was like, wow, and I said, one thing I said, Anderson, South Carolina in the house, like that. He was like, huh? And I said, well, Miss Barbara Mack, right? And he was like, wow, like it floored him. Like, who would think that in New York you meet someone that mentions a name that resonates to you from Anderson, South Carolina, your hometown? Like, it's just something like that. His reaction was so wonderful to see. It just showed how authentic he was, how humble he was, how he never strayed and never forgot his roots.
Right.
And it was really cool. So we talked and we took a picture, and that was the only time I met him. And I was so mad I didn't give him my CD. I was so mad I did not give him my CD, my first album. I had CDs with me. I didn't give it to him. And then I contacted him via Instagram, but he had 5 million followers, and it's like, I should have just gave it to him directly and everything. You never know if he had a CD player in the car or whatever. But but anyway, no, it was great to meet him. So now fast forward, when Chadwick Boseman passed away, it really messed me up because I heard it during a Yankee game. This was right in the middle of the pandemic, August 2020. And that's when, the baseball games had no one in the crowd, it was no fans. And they mentioned Chadwick Boseman, that he passed away. Hearing Michael K's voice saying that. And so then my good friend Niles, who's a talented rapper out of Minneapolis, like he's from East Lansing. He was in New York for a little bit. We performed a lot together when he was in New York. He also he won the Hot 97 contest where he was a recording artist for Cox Records for a little bit. But as you can hear on Superhero, talented MC, great MC. Yes. So he did a freestyle for Chadwick to commemorate him. And then I called him when I heard the IG. I was like, hey, we got to do this track together, brother. Like, let's do. And we never did a track together. So it was like, this is the time. And it was great that it worked out to be for Chadwick Boseman. And coincidentally, Niles' government first name is Chadwick.
Wow.
Oh, so right there, that was meant to happen. Yeah. So we did the track, put it together. And also got Beth Griffin-Manley from The Voice. She, a great singer from Detroit. Her father is Johnny Griffin, God rest his soul, one of the Funk Brothers. Yep. In Standing in the Shadows of Motown, that group, Yep. So she comes from royalty in Detroit, and she sings with Cam and Anita Baker, and everything like that. Great singer. So she sang the hook, and then the rest was history. And we put the song together, and yeah, just proud of it, and proud to have worked with Niles and Beth Griffin-Manley on it.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, I was wondering. I figured when I heard the song that there's got to be a deeper connection. I got to ask about it. It wasn't like, oh, Nabate was a Black Panther fan and you want to make this song. And I knew there was something else. There was something there.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. That's right. No, real talk. And he just celebrated his birth. He would have been 46 years old this year, Chadwick, on November 29th, last Monday. So, last Tuesday. Last Tuesday, yeah.
So as we wrap this up, let's talk about the new album. It's called In Motion.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Chuck D on it.
Sir.
It also has Cardinal Official on it.
Yes.
So the hip hop connection is alive, and as you said, it's available for pre-order on Bandcamp. It's been 4 years since your last album.
Mm-hmm.
So were you just busy, or did it take time to kind of get back into the creative spirit?
Yes. Well, the pandemic.
Okay.
That did it. Because I was going to record. It was funny. I was going to record the next album in 2020, like May 2020.
Oh, okay.
So May 2020 was going to be the record. Then pandemic happened. I said, okay, I'll push it back to September. It should go away. We were all thinking all right, it's probably just like a flu type of thing, I'm not listening to Trump, Trumper. I'm not a Trumper, no. Because he said it was a flu. I wasn't listening. I'm just saying, I just thought, it'll go away, and everything. Right. And then September 2020, it was far from gone. And then 2021, we were still dealing with it. And then we finally got vaccines going in 2021. But so I got delayed with that. And I didn't want to do a record. I thought about, but I do the record, just putting everyone together, having the drummer lay his track down. I would first do bass, then drums, then keys, like that. And then I said, no, that's not authentic. No, I can't do that. I got to have everyone in the studio. So we ended up, I ended up waiting for a while, and it kind of worked because I had a different concept. From May 2020 going into September 2020, I had a different concept. So I'm glad the pandemic happened from the standpoint of me reflecting musically and reflecting on my life and reflecting on what's important to me.
Yeah.
And everything, and it slowed me down. And I created a lot of music during that time, during the pandemic. It got me to really sit down and create and not have to feel like I had to schedule my writing. You know what I mean? I felt like I had to schedule it. You know, before the pandemic, I was just always ripping and running around. So yeah, so that's why. But it was well worth the wait. And like I said, it's a soundtrack for my life. You know, it kind of like all the music I was into, like Donald Byrd and the Blackbirds, and Quincy Jones and the Brothers Johnson, and you know, and also Tom Brown, The Roots, Roy Ayers, you know, Tribe. So it's like into those groups, and then you know, wanted to mix that modern thing like Kaytranada, Thundercat, you know, that vibe.
Yeah.
But then have my own style and my own voice. So yeah.
Dope. That's super dope. Harlem Shake is fantastic. That's a great start. It's a great start.
Right. New Jack Swing. New Jack Swing, that Harlem sound, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jenny. I'm sorry.
Oh, Chuck said something.
Oh, Chuck said. I'm sorry, Chuck.
That was Chuck.
I love New Jack Swing.
You love New Jack Swing,
right.
yeah.
Yes.
We sound a lot alike.
Yes, right. Yeah, Teddy
Jack's
Riley.
got a very deep Barry White voice.
Yes.
Oh man, but yeah, so that's what the album is. Have a lot of different things on it. Yeah, check it out, everybody. It's something, and yeah, I'm just really proud of how it came out, and proud of all the cats that contribute, all the great musicians, the great engineers, the great feature artists. And shout out, like I said, shout out to Chuck D, shout out to Cardinal Fisher, who I've been a fan of Cardinal since the late 90s, early 2000s. You know, Cat was underground, like, you know, Canada. He was Canada. You know, him along with Socrates, Choclair, like I was digging that sound, you know, Canada and everything. And yeah, and shout out to Mumu Fresh. Mumu Fresh, one of the greatest female MCs around. People know about her, but she's like your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. You know what I mean? Like, and she sings so well too. Because I first heard her. What made me want to work with her? I first heard her on Tiny Desk, which I want to get on NPR. Get me on Tiny Desk.
Yes.
I want to be on that.
Yeah, come on, NPR.
Great,
get this guy on.
Hell yes, you know. But I saw her in Tiny Desk with August Green, Common, Robert Glasper, and Kareem Riggins group.
Right.
So I saw her on that, and I was like, she can rap and sing like at the level of Lauryn Hill. You know what I mean? Like at that level. And I'm like, you know what? I want to work with her on the next album. I got to figure out what we can put her on. And then Black Girl Magic came about, and that's a piece like having a daughter. You know, having a daughter, and Badia Farrar, shout out to Badia Farrar, great singer. Lady Rose, you know, she was part of School of Rock. She sang on that cast, that Broadway cast with School of Rock. And we went to NYU together because I did my master's at New York University. So we went to NYU together, and she's a mother. Mumu is a mother. You see what I mean? So it's like, you know, that right there. And mother, now Mumu, I believe Mumu has a daughter. I believe she does. Like, but I know Badia has 2 daughters. You see, so it's like all that. So we had to do an anthem for Black girls and Black women around the world, and this anthem is they contributed highly. And Nikki Greer, shout out to Nikki Greer, the great singer. She ran. I don't know if Kanye's Sunday service is still going on, you know, with everything going on, you know, with Ye. But she ran the Sunday service, Nikki Greer, you know.
Gotcha.
So I got her to do the voices. She did all the voices and everything. So yeah, so shout out to those 3 powerful women as well.
Fantastic. Chuck, were you gonna say something?
Sorry, I got a question.
That's all right. I can still hang. I'm having fun, you know. So
when are you gonna do a collab with my favorite artist, Aaron Burr, aka Leslie Odom Jr.?
Oh, well, I worked with Leslie Odom Jr. I had the honor of working with him with Christian at NJ Pack. He sang with us, you know, and everything. I would love to work with that cat, you know, just I gotta make sure his price ain't gonna kill my pockets where it's the whole budget, because he's an Oscar nominated actor now. That cat is like, he's up there. But no, I would love to work with Leslie Odom Jr. That cat is such a talent. And I don't got Robert Glasper budget, but hopefully when I do,
Not yet.
I can go right there. Yeah, not yet. When I do, I can hear Leslie Odom Jr. for sure.
So here's the last dumb question of the night. Do you have a favorite rap album?
All right, it's different. Okay, can I list some?
Of course.
Off the
Please.
top of the dome.
I know it's such a stupid question because it changes every day for me. So.
Oh yeah, exactly. I'm gonna give a list. Like I don't know when I'll stop, but of course it takes the nation millions to hold us back. Of course that record. Of course, Criminal Minded. Those are the first two that got me really into hip hop. Of course, by any means necessary. Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em that I mentioned earlier. Chronic 2001. And Chronic. But I kind of go towards Chronic 2001 more. You know what I mean? Like I go towards that album more. Also, too, of course, Nas Illmatic. Of course, De La Soul's Dead. Brand Nubian One for All.
Oh, they just had an anniversary.
Yes. For anniversary for
One for All. Yeah.
Really? Oh, that was 30. Yeah, 89 it came out. 89, 90. So yeah. Oh, anniversary,
1990.
Like
yeah.
Yeah. So 32nd year anniversary.
32 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the other
the first
day.
single. Yeah, the first single came out in 89. The first single, I remember. Yeah,
Yes.
late 89.
Yeah.
So that's a record no one talks about. Oh, the infamous Mobb Deep. We talk about Queens. Low End Theory Tribe. Midnight Marauders Tribe. Also. Oh God, what else? Q-Tip's The Renaissance.
Great album. Great album that doesn't
yes,
get talked
indeed.
about enough.
That's right. Doesn't at all. Goodness, there's so many. Oh, Razzcast Soul on Ice.
Oh,
what I
wow.
mean?
There you go.
Oh man. And going back to PE with Fear of a Black Planet. You know what I mean? Apocalypse 91.
Yeah.
Also Cube's America's Most Wanted.
Yeah.
Too, oh man, like Cube's America's Most Wanted. Also, any Outkast album. Any Outkast, I think for me, the one that rings for me is Aquemini. That's the one that rings for me. And also AT-Aliens too, I was bumping Outkast in New York. No one was into the South. I was bumping Outkast in 94. Players Ball and everything, Like I saw looking things into the future. I knew they were going to run hip hop. I knew it.
AT-Aliens was the one for me because I moved to South Carolina right for a time, right as that record dropped, and I was like, oh, okay. I get it now.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. And any K-Dot album, To Pimp a Butterfly to me is the best hip hop album of the century, of the 21st century.
It's fantastic. It's so good.
That right there, like it just, I can never get tired of that album. I'm trying to think. Well, oh God, the Royce Book of Rhyme, Royce 5'9".
Wow,
is something I love. I love that album. I'm trying to think of other great. Jay Dilla's Donuts.
Right.
Also Mad Villainy.
Yes.
Madlib and MF Doom, God rest his soul.
Yep.
God. Black on Both Sides, Most Def.
Okay, right. Yes.
Of course, Black Star, We Are Black Star.
Yep.
God. Just all Nas's Hip Hop is Dead. I think that's an underrated album. Hip Hop is Dead. A lot of messages in that, and of course, like King's Disease, like all the King's Diseases are incredible too, as well. And Pusha's latest one is tough too.
I haven't listened to it yet. I like the last one, so I have to check the new one. Yeah. Yeah,
that's the late. And then Kanye Late Registration. That's my favorite Kanye record, Late Registration, the second one.
Okay.
There's more. Let me tell you, when we end the interview, when I'm probably gonna have
you're gonna think,
15. more, oh my God. Yeah, just so much great music,
That's
so much great music.
That's a great
Yeah.
list, so can't be mad.
Yeah. Thank
Right.
you. Yes. Oh,
Yes.
Supreme Clientele, Ghosts.
Oh, there you
know
go.
what I mean? Like, oh, Purple Tape too. The Purple Tape. Oh,
Yep.
I gotta forget that. Ray, like Liquid Swords, Jizza, like those 3 albums, like, like 95, the year 95, the infamous Liquid Swords, Purple Tape, that was 95.
Yep.
Supreme Clientele was 2000, a
Right.
little later, but Iron Man was 96. Yeah, Soul Survivor, Pete Rock, Soul Survivor.
Oh yeah.
And the Peace Instrumentals too, Capital Punishment, Big
Yep.
Pun. On and on. Sorry. These are albums I've listened to so much throughout my life.
I gotta speaking of Peace Instrumentals, I gotta give a shout out to my homie, who I got the honor and pleasure used to play with and toured with a little bit, was Daru Jones,
Okay,
who played on Peace Instrumentals 3.
Ooh,
So,
yes, that's a bad cat.
Yeah, that's my dude from way back. So,
shout
out to Daru.
That's a bad cat. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, he's dope.
Oh man, yeah.
So,
it's just.
Yep. All right. So Nabate, thank you for coming through to the show tonight. Appreciate it,
Thank
sir.
you so much. Thank you so much. Such an honor. C-Doc, Jenny, Chuckified. Thank you so much for having me. And I'd love to come on sometime again. Like I said, I could talk hip hop and music like forever. Definitely.
We will definitely have you back, sir. By all means.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
And as we take the show out here at the end, I'll play the new song. So
yes, indeed.
I love
that. Yeah, that's the Chuck D. Yes, with Chuck D featuring Chuck D. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And everybody, check out, go pre-order the new album. Check out the new single on Bandcamp. It's dope. And thank you, sir.
And it's all on DSPs too. All DSPs, Apple. Yeah. But don't. You can stream it, but as long as you buy it on Bandcamp,
That's right.
Hell yes. Hell yes. We love Bandcamp here. We're big fans of Bandcamp. So
yes, indeed.
Definitely. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
Blessings.
Right.
Peace.
Right now. Peace.
Oh, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Nabate.
Hopefully he knows to stay on here so he can hear.
Oh yeah. He can check it out. So, and if you missed it at the top, he also plays on the new Chuck D single, "The Amazing Willie Mays," the theme song for Nelson George's HBO documentary "Say Hey Willie Mays," and very honored to collaborate with him on this song. I was honored that we got asked to do the song in the first place. So that was really it was a series of dope surprises as far as that went. So
there you go. Definitely a step up.
Yeah, definitely a step up. Yep. Doing it right. Jennifer, who do we have next week?
We have the one and only Cool Kim from the UMCs.
All right.
I was watching Cool Kim's show with you, Jenny. Isn't that who had the show last week?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's a cool dude, man. They got a great show over there.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Word up.
Was on there.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. I'll have to check that out. I was a UMC's fan from way back when the first album dropped. Tirade and I used to bump that all the time. So
Kindred Spirits, I believe, is the name of the show.
Oh man! Also, real quick, everybody, check out Nabate's podcast. Where they at? Because I forgot we didn't even get into that.
Dude, I'm getting in right now.
And he's clutching his forehead like, what?
Wait, okay, real quick.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
I totally forgot that. Okay, where they at? Real quick, tell everybody about where they at.
Yes, thank you for having me back on. Where they at?
Yeah, no, come on, man. It's all good.
Yes, indeed. Talking with retired athletes and also artists, creative artists that have had long careers. So I had the honor to have Chuck on it. Also, Branford Marcellus and Taylor Hackford are the
Wow.
three like performing artists. You know, of course, Branford, one of the great saxophonists to ever live, and Taylor Hackford, one of the great filmmakers of the last 50 years, director of Ray, the Ray Charles biopic that starred Jamie Foxx. But where they at? I had the honor to interview I don't want to forget any names. Warren Moon, Marshall Falk, Bernard Hopkins, you know, Chris Everett, Nancy Lieberman, Leroy Butler, new Hall of Famer, one recent inductee to Pro Football Hall of Fame. Also Ferguson Jenkins, also George Foreman, Darrell Revis. Shout out to him. He's about to get inducted on his first ballot this year for sure to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Just all those great people that I've had the honor to have. I think I mentioned Marshall Falk, you know, like him as well. But it's been in hiatus for the year because number one, the record, my album was the most important thing. Number two, being a father. That's number one. You know?
Always.
Number two was the album, you know, and everything. Also, number three, a lot of other things going on where I have to focus. So where they at will be back in January. I got a few people on the pipeline. I'm gonna start releasing episodes weekly again. It'll be back for sure. Definitely.
Fantastic. Also, shout out to Ferguson Jenkins. Chuck and I were honored to do a song for him for the MLB.
Dig it. Yeah. Wow. And Fergie's birthday is coming up soon, like in a week or so. Yeah,
word up. When he got the it was right around the time they did the statue unveiling at Wrigley. And,
man.
Yeah, so we did a song for MLB Network for him. So that was cool.
Wow. Man.
Damn, everybody on this podcast.
Oh, you're looking at it now. Yep.
I mean, my God.
Yeah, I gotta bring it back. Definitely, it's gonna come back for sure. Like I felt I had to. Some things have to wait. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love the show doing it, but that takes a lot because when you're doing hour and a half interviews, I have the honor to have these cats. Like Chuck was a 2-parter. The interview was around 2.5 hours total. So I had to split that up. Taylor Hackford was the same thing. I had to split that up. Branford was I think it was one episode, but that was an hour 45 minutes with Branford. So it's but when I do these long interviews with people, I gotta it's a lot of research because I don't want to forget any questions, and I want to also I read their books too. If they have a biography I read it. I read it from cover to cover. So I make sure I'm ready and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I want to show that I'm prepared and everything. So yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
Fantastic.
So that takes time. That takes time.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So there you go. Everybody check it out. Check out the podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
you forgot to. And I just saw you forgot to mention Raucous Sound Bombing Volume 2.
Oh, that's another one of my favorites. Yeah, Sound Bombing Volume 2. That's with Eminem, Pharoah, Mos Def, Ali, Bahamadia. I think is on it too.
That was
That
was one of the new school, well, not new school, but new underground joints that hit real heavy. I remember.
That's right. And Raucous, man. That label set the tone, set the tone.
It did.
So,
yep.
Definitely.
Exactly. All right. Fantastic.
Yeah. All right.
All right. We're going to get. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again, Nabate.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
We'll talk soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Definitely.
All right. And we are going to play this song and we are going to get out of here for the week. So we're going to present to you Bate's Letter from Mr. Chuck by Nabate Isles featuring Chuck D. And coming out next year. Oh, January 27th. So next month. It's not that far away. All right. So here we go, ladies and gents.
Oppression.
Send this letter to reveal these details. Style against profiling against the system that fails. Guns prevail, the United States of oppression ails. Shit, they voted on saving them whales. These McConnell MFs in their faces of violence. Shots, drugs dropped on us and their ass be silent. Like a move bomb, come and tell moves quiet. Peep noise 40 years ago on Long Island. We a target, yes, a target. Target, yet we had to get knowledge of self, us, and we added who, what, when, how, and why. Do or die and don't quit. Yeah, that's right, y'all. And never forget faith, hope, and light to teach. Engage the youth, potential to reach. Elevating generations in unity. That's right, y'all. Get that target off of you and me. Bring it up, Barte. Come on, bring it up. I bring the noise, you bring it on up. Bring it up, Barte. Come on, bring it up. I bring the noise and you bring it on up. Bring it up, Bate, come on, bring it up. I bring the noise, you bring it on up. Bring it up, Bate, come on, bring it up. I bring the noise and you bring it on up. They hate to see us coming on the come up. Come on.
Fantastic.
That was dope, dude.
Super dope. Yep. Super dope. All right, everybody.
What's going on, man? That was a dope track.
Yep. Fantastic. Great stuff. So there you go. Everybody watching the show, you got your marching orders. Go pre-order the album. It's
right.
worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it for those two joints alone. I've heard those two records. So yeah. All right, everybody. We will see you next week if I can remember how to take us out of this show. All right.